listening to the No Labels, No Limits podcast with best-selling author Sarah Box, where you get the inside scoop on the steps action takers and decision makers take to align their purpose to their principles and achieve their goals in business and life. We focus on the mantra, no labels, no limits, no excuses. And now, without further ado, please welcome your commanding coach with plenty of chutzpah and heart, Sarah Box.
Hey there, it's Sarah, and I want to welcome you personally to this very special edition of the No Labels, No Limits podcast. This is a new series that we just started, and we are so excited to introduce you to Moments with Maria. This series is a shorter version of the podcast. Maria touches upon words of advice and wisdom and encouragement that are shared by the members of our community, for the members of our community, and to all of you beyond. So without further ado, let's welcome Maria.
Hello and welcome. My name is Maria Lees, and I am the content writer for Team Sarah Box, and I am back again with another video in our series in which different members from our Sarah Box community are joining me to share a little bit of wisdom, encouragement, and advice with our community. Today, I am joined by Heather Scott. Heather is an author, educator, and coach supporting entrepreneurs and busy professionals. Heather, welcome. Thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Oh, thank you, Maria, for the opportunity and the invite.
Absolutely. Well, just to get started, I'd love if you would share just a little bit more about yourself and kind of the work that you do.
So I am an entrepreneur living in Western Canada at the moment, and I have content that I have created in the form of a book where I was doing a connection between self-care and parenting. And what I've realized since I wrote that is that for me, self-care is not just about for parents or people who are caring for others, it's for everyone. And so I'm connecting with people all around the world recently, and it's very exciting to see how this focus is really rising for people, and they're understanding that it's not indulgent or optional, that it's really essential. And I love supporting those who are looking to get organized enough to put self-care in their own routines.
Oh, that's wonderful, and definitely something that's important. I feel like, just like you said, the term self-care and that whole concept is becoming like a little more popular and widely recognized, but I feel like sometimes you hear different definitions of what self-care actually is. So I would love just to kind of hear how you would define self-care.
Well, that is such a great point. And one of the things that I share all the time is that self-care is as individual as the flavor of ice cream that you enjoy. So for you, a walk in nature might just fill your cup like no other. And for me, having a quiet moment to meditate and read a book that I enjoy is the thing that's going to really suit me best. And so the main thing that I'm noticing and believe about self-care is that it's not optional. It's really foundational. So when people have big dreams, big goals, things they want to achieve, be productive at, it's not optional. It's foundational to have a self-care program in place to deal with your health, your well-being, your mental state. And it really impacts how you show up. And I find, especially with entrepreneurs who have this real love of whatever it is they're bringing to the world, they want to have it be sustainable. And so self-care promotes that cyclical, rejuvenating ability to continue.
Yeah, absolutely. I love what you said about how it's not optional. It's also not indulgent. I feel like a lot of times those are mindsets that can be easy for us to fall into when we've used self-care, and it can be kind of easy, at least this is something I've experienced, to put self-care kind of like on the back burner or on the, if I have time, I'll, get to it list. And as an entrepreneur myself, also as a mom of little kids, there isn't a lot of free time. So it can be difficult to find ways to insert self-care into my life. And I know I'm not the only one that struggles with that. So what would you kind of say to that? And, for people that are busy, which most of us are, how do you make that a priority?
Well, two things jump to mind right away. And I was a single mom with 2 little kids. My boys are nearly launched now, so I'm in a different stage of life. But 2 things I would note is that the environment, those you surround yourself with, is so important. If you are around people who believe in burning the candle at both ends and never really pausing, it's going to be difficult for you to make this shift. And so connecting with a community or a peer group is so essential. People who will support you in caring for you. And one of the things I heard recently is that if somebody says to you, you know, Maria, you're really being selfish right now because you're not helping me clean out my garage. The reality is I'm the selfish person in that moment because I would rather you ignore your own needs and care for mine. And everyone has their own needs. And we need to learn. I think there's really an importance in learning how we care for ourselves. So the environment is one thing. And the other thing is having accountability outside our own brains. I talk about self-care and organization all the time, being organized, getting what you need to get done effectively. But without outside accountability, even I struggle. If I commit to being here with you at 11:45 on a Friday, that's in my calendar, no problem. That's 100%. Unless something dramatic happens, I'm here. But if not, if it's just something where like, oh, at 11:45, I'm going to meditate or take a short walk or listen to music that I enjoy that's not to do with my work day, and my mother calls or my sons need something or work is oh my gosh, somebody has an urgent need. It's so easy to get pulled off track if you don't have outside accountability. And that's where I work with people to, if they say something matters to them, then I work with them about creating accountability structures that allow them to deliver for themselves, because we want to be on our own list of importance.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. Like the power of community and accountability truly, I don't think can be overstated. It makes such a huge impact.
Well, and also acknowledging that certain people aren't quite ready. Certain people think that they should be doing self-care. And I've met a lot of them since I wrote this book and have conversations.
Sure.
And if people aren't quite ready, that's okay. We can love them anyways. It's all right. When they're ready, when they're open, when they want to take that step, then we'll support them. I mean, the whole community will support them as they do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Meeting people where they're at on the journey is so important.
Yeah,
for sure. What would you say to somebody who, maybe is watching this video and is feeling convicted, like, okay, I need to make self-care a non-negotiable priority in my life, but I don't even know what that looks like for me. Because I think sometimes people can get into these ruts where they haven't had self-care for so long that even if they carved out the time, they wouldn't know what to do. So what's
so true. Oh, so one of the things that I talk about in my coaching practice is creating time and space for exploration. And it's not about tips and tricks. I mean, I can give you some tips on, as a young mother, sometimes when I would pull into the garage and the kids would be asleep in their car seats, I would just sit there for 10 minutes because as soon as you activate, oh my gosh, you've got another 3 hours until bedtime. But
been there.
So that's like a tip, right? Where you just, oh my gosh, like I'm just going to sit here and look at a cute meme on my phone or respond to a text from a friend or take those 10 minutes. I mean, 10 minutes in a lifetime. It's so important to just pause. But the other thing is that when people actually get ready, that's when I get really excited to connect with them, because whoever you connect with that will hold time and space, there's a moment. Glennon Doyle actually spoke of this on her podcast. We can do hard things. Until you create space, your resourcefulness is missing. Your creativity is not activated. You don't even know what you need. And that is really, I don't want to say burnt out, but like when you don't even know what you might even want, that's a different place than, oh, I really want to get to the pool and go swimming for myself an hour a week. That's a different stage. When you're not even sure at the very, very start, that's when you want to surround yourself with like someone you trust, whether it's I'm not a counselor, but sometimes it's a counselor. Sometimes it's a spiritual guidance person that you love or connect with. Sometimes it's a coach. Sometimes it's just a friend who can start to be inquiring as to what resources you might need to support you.
Thank you. I love that concept of just kind of exploring and maybe exploring with another person that can kind of help guide the process or walk with you and discover what it is to have self-care, what it looks like for you as an individual. That's wonderful.
Well, and I would also say that I can think a lot of thoughts on the inside of my head. And until I express them outside of myself, they're just a lot of thoughts in my head. And I might or might not take action about them. But as soon as you externalize to someone else, I really want to go on this trip, or I really want to create time for myself, like 2 hours a week where I'm just uninterrupted. Once you say it outside of yourself, there's real power in that. It's the equivalent of writing down a goal. When you write it down, we all know that activates different energy and power. And it's the same with saying all those sort of hopes and dreams that you might be able to access from the back burner, like you were saying, on the back burner. Mm-hmm. If you can say it out loud to even one other person, there's like different energy that gets activated.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Well, thank you so much for all that you've shared with us today, Heather. I know personally it's given me a lot to chew on and think about as I kind of work to integrate more self-care into my own life. But before we go, if you had to leave our community with one final message or quick parting words, what would they be?
They would be a very gentle question, which is, what have you done for yourself in the past week that really nurtured you? And what is one thing that you could do in the next week that would bring a smile to your face?
I love those questions. I feel like those are ones that we should all sit with every week, like at the end of the week, just kind of do a reflection, spend 10 minutes and think about those two questions.
Well, and I would like to ask you that question before we go. What's one little thing that you might be able to do for yourself? Because I love hearing what there's so much variety. So what's one thing that you like to do for yourself that really nurtures you?
That's a good question. I think for me, as I mentioned, my children are still very young. I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, so nap time is sacred for me. So one thing that I try to do every day, and that just really kind of is my reset for each day, is to sit down and actually make myself hot food while they're sleeping and just sit and eat uninterrupted, like at least one meal a day where I can just enjoy it and it's warm and it's,
Oh,
yeah.
That's thank you for sharing. Mm-hmm. I love hearing, what people choose. And I also love hearing like the energy behind it, which sounds very peaceful.
It is. Yeah. It's definitely it's helpful all days, but especially on harder days, it's a good little like press the reset button. We can continue after this. Oh. Absolutely. Well, thank you again, Heather. It's been a joy chatting with you. And as always, thanks to those who've taken time to sit and watch this video today. We appreciate you. Stay tuned for more uplifting and encouraging videos coming your way.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the No Labels, No Limits podcast with best-selling author, change agent, and strategic vision coach, Sarah Box. You can grab the show notes and find out how to work with Sarah at sarahbox.com/No Labels, No Limits podcast. We'd love this podcast to reach as many people as possible. So please remember to rate, leave a 5-star review, and share the podcast with someone you think would get value from this conversation. Until next time, keep taking those daily action steps to align your purpose to your principles and achieve your goals in business and life.